7 items FEMA will confiscate after SHTF. Number 1 is bottled water. Water always has value in a disaster scenario. You need to have some ready-to-drink water in your home and be able to replenish that. Having water filters and knowing where to get more water is necessary. In a disaster, lots of water sources are going to be contaminated. The water you have in your home might be all you have to access. If FEMA comes knocking, you should have some to give and have some hidden, or your family is going to be standing in line for a bottle of water from a case that you've already purchased. Number 2 is food. FEMA has the power and intention to not just take your food, but to take over farms as well. Of course, they will decide how this food is distributed once they have amassed it all. Can you imagine seeing all the food taken from your home in an emergency? Years of prepping just walked out the door by people who couldn't care less about you and your family. This is why it's so important for you to maximize the use of multiple and hidden storage locations. Now, if you truly want to help, then we need to be able to hand over our food storage and FEMA to roll away with some resources before bringing our real stockpile together from these multiple and hidden locations. Number 3 is medical supplies. FEMA will take the necessary steps to procure medical equipment and medicines if they believe that you have the type they're looking for. Your medical stockpiles will be at risk, and it is well within FEMA's scope of powers to take them from you if they deem necessary. In fact, medical is even worse than food, because if FEMA deems you healthy, then you don't need any of those medical preps that you've been storing, and they'll take it all. Now, they're supposed to leave you some food to sustain yourself, but with medical, it could be a completely different story. Number 4 is weapons. Now, we don't have a lot of precedent for this, but a couple of times is enough. We saw weapons confiscation in places like New Orleans and in Boston after the marathon bombing. You need to understand that nothing stands in the way of FEMA confiscating your preps. I think FEMA would take away as many weapons from American citizens as they possibly could. They would throw the Second Amendment out the window in the face of an emergency. In fact, they would have to, or else there would be a different kind of emergency to deal with. Number 5 is generators. Your generator is probably loud, right? Well, FEMA can hear it too. EO 10997 gives federal power to FEMA so they can confiscate all kinds of fuel and power necessary to complete their mission. This can include your loud generator, as they hear it from a mile away. FEMA is setting up camps during these disasters, and some of those camps might require your power. Number 6 is fuel. The fuel you bring into a disaster area is all the fuel you're going to have while in that disaster area. When it runs out, you either have to leave the area to go find more or stay. Your fuel stockpile would surely pique the interest of FEMA. They would have every right to take that fuel stockpile from you to power their vehicles and their efforts. Number 7 is radios and comms. We have already established that FEMA has the law on its side, and if it wants to confiscate comms, that big antenna on your truck is going to be a dead giveaway. From the experience of preppers who have already worked with FEMA, they're not very effective. They could never be as effective as prepared communities and surrounding communities that would answer the call in a disaster. You better make sure FEMA doesn't know about your preps, and you may have to consider alternative locations and unique storage methods.